it was about 2 months ago where I made an unboxing video of the RigMetal Sim Rig, and in that unboxing video, I gave you my initial thoughts and first impressions of this RigMetal 8020 Sim Rig. I put a fair amount of miles on it. I feel like I've developed a good understanding of the strengths and weaknesses of this rig, and so I wanted to make a follow-up video to share those benefits and pros and cons of this rig with you guys today. I will tell you that just off the bat, this is not a paid or sponsored video. And to be honest, my final recommendation for this rig is that you actually do not buy it. And I'm going to tell you exactly why in good conscience. I really can't recommend this rig today, but this is just my honest opinion, my thoughts, and what I know about the competitive landscape with sim rigs right now. So we're gonna go on ahead and jump right in, guys. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop them in the comments below. Real quick, let's just talk a little bit about RigMetal, because if you're in the market for a sim rig and you haven't heard of this company, it's a brand worth mentioning, but it's definitely not a big player in the space. So it's definitely not unlikely that you may not even have heard of them before. And in fact, it's actually kind of funny. I mean, if you hop on Google right now and you just search for sim rigs or racing sim rigs, they're not going to pop up. This is not a big company. It is based in Seattle, Washington. It is a US based business. And so there's definitely some pros and cons to that. For me personally, I love supporting local. I love supporting small businesses, entrepreneurs. So this company, for me, when I bought this rig, I was thinking like, oh yeah, this is, I'm putting money back into the US economy and so on and so forth, and there's something to be said for that. And then on top of that, all of his offerings, the guy's name is Marcus, the owner, all of his offerings are very competitively priced. But also with that, there's not going to be 24/7 customer support. I'm not even sure if there's like a customer service phone number you can call, probably not. It's just this one guy basically selling rigs. And my guess is he probably, drew up some designs and orders the parts in bulk from 8020 supplier, and then packages it all up and ships them out as the orders come in. It doesn't take, a lot of like rocket science, for example, to design an 8020 sim rig, right? It's not the most complicated thing in the world, but it's complicated enough to where I'm very handy. And I went on some of like 8020.net and I checked out some of the different plans and stuff that are on there where you can buy somebody else's plans, and then you can just buy a parts list and then buy those parts and then build the rig. And I just, I don't know, I didn't really feel good about that. Dipping my toes into 8020 for the first time, it all seemed kind of overwhelming. And so obviously I went with the kit. And so that's what RigMetal is. So US-based, affordable sim rig company. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the cockpit. This is, again, the RigMetal Plus cockpit. It is the mid-level offering within their lineup. So they have the RigMetal Basic, they have the Plus, and then they have the Flagship. And so this is the Plus. It's the mid-level offering. And basically everything that you see here is what it comes with. Of course, excluding my peripherals and my seat. That's a GT Omega seat, actually. But all of, everything that you see here that's 8020 and part of the actual cockpit itself is what it comes with. And I wanted to go with the Plus personally because the Plus is marketed as being more rigid and also having better customizability as far as the setup goes compared to the Basic. And so what do I mean by that? First off, the Basic does not have a mounting plate for your wheel. So it doesn't come with this pre-drilled plate. It basically, you mount your wheel to the 8020 vertical posts here. And then the Basic also, we'll see if you can see it. You see that kind of like vertical plate there, and then there's one like right here as well. That's all part of the pedal plate assembly, and the Basic does not come with that pedal plate assembly either, so there's a lot less adjustability with the Basic, and it's also not as rigid. Also, as far as the seat is concerned, the Plus comes with these crossbars where the Basic does not. With the Basic, the seat actually mounts completely flush with your base supports, the base frame. And so the Plus is only, it's only $100 some odd more than the Basic. And then there's the Flagship, which the Flagship has the most customizability. It has even thicker vertical uprights, even thicker base frame. The frame itself actually sits on height adjustable casters, so you can lift it off of the floor. But then the Flagship is also like $250 or $260 more than the Plus. And as of the time that I'm making this video, the Plus was about, about $450. maybe 420, right around that price range. So then the flagship would have been like 750, 770, right around that price range. So we're not really gonna talk about the seat, right? Because it's a GT Omega seat. I didn't get it from RigMetal. It's not really fair to talk about the seat's adjustability, but RigMetal doesn't really offer a seat, so you don't really have an option to get a full rig from them anyways. You're gonna have to buy your seat elsewhere no matter what. So I got mine from GT Omega, but we are going to talk about your ability to adjust the seat. And so if we look in here, we have these two horizontal cross members that the seat is mounted to. And so if you want to, it's very easy to just loosen these screws here, and you can slide the seat forward and backward. And then of course, if you wanted to, you can slide the seat side to side as well. So it's really easy to adjust the seat in that regard. But what you cannot really do with this rig is adjust the height of the seat. And that is really important to me because I prefer a GT style position, right? You're more upright, your hips are higher, your feet are lower. So it's kind of like you're driving in an actual car versus like a formula position where your ankles and stuff are basically the same height as your hips. And so you can't adjust the height of the actual seat itself. And so that really prevents you from a huge element of adjustability as far as the actual seat is concerned. If you wanted to, you could take these cross members and flip them up on their side. And that would basically give you like an extra inch of lift. But you know, that's only going to allow for so much adjustability. And I feel like it's also going to affect the fore aft structural integrity of those cross members, right? If they're vertical like this instead of horizontal like this, it's just, there's no way that's not going to create some issues with like forward and aft flex. So as far as the seat goes, the adjustability is okay, but it's not great. I really would have liked to see something out of the box that really allowed you to increase and decrease the height of the seat, or even, you know, just offer something aftermarket, or not even aftermarket, but just as an add-on where it would allow you to do that out of the box as well if you wanted to pay a little bit extra and get this additional accessory. But alas, those options don't exist for the Plus cockpit, and so the seat adjustability is just okay. As it sits, you're pretty low to the ground, and so you just want to keep that in mind as far as your overall position is concerned. So next we want to look at the wheels adjustability, and I've really got nothing negative to say about that. This wheel assembly area, if you will, has a ton of adjustability, whether it's forward and backward adjustability, vertical height adjustability, and then even tilt adjustability. You can adjust pretty much everything about how your wheel is mounted and positioned. And so that is great. I really like that about the Plus cockpit here. From RigMetal, you can do as much adjusting to your heart's desire as far as how you have the wheel positioned, and that is a great selling point of this wheel. Further, how they have everything assembled here, it just makes for a really limited vibration assembly, really rigid assembly as far as like side-to-side torque and flexion and things like that. So overall, as far as the wheel positioning is concerned, I've got, again, nothing but great things to say about it. It offers a lot of adjustability as far as fine-tuning your wheel's position. Now, the last thing that we're going to talk about here from an adjustability perspective is the pedals. And unfortunately, the pedal adjustability for this rig, this pedal plate, it's really where the rig falls short, and it's really unfortunate because the plate that it comes with is a really nice plate. It offers a lot of possible adjustability. There are forward and backward sliders, there's vertical pivot points, there's all kinds of different ways you could possibly set these pedals up in order to get a really fine-tuned pedal position. Unfortunately, the position of the pedals out of the box, if you were to just build this as it is intended, as the instructions specify, the pedal position out of the box is going to be very similar to a formula style position. So the pedals are basically parallel with your hips. Like they're gonna be in the same vertical plane as your hips. So your feet are gonna, and your knees are gonna be up really high. And I really just don't like that. Like it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like I'm driving a GT car. And I really don't do much formula driving at all. And so I don't want that formula cockpit experience. And that isn't mentioned on the RigMetal website. And so the only way out of the box I can even get this thing closely to resemble a GT style seating position is basically by flipping this pedal deck upside down. And so it's gonna be really hard for me to show on camera, but I'm gonna try. You can see this pedal plate piece here, and you can see all of the different slots and drilled out holes that it comes set up with, so you can really dial in how the pedals are adjusted. But I actually have this mounted upside down right now, and I have it mounted upside down because it's the only way I can get these pedals anywhere near the floor. If you were to flip this around and mount it the way that it's supposed to mount, these pieces here, see that flat piece and then that flat piece there, they are either going to be touching the floor and you're not going to be able to adjust at all without it touching the floor, or you're going to have to raise the whole thing up by a few inches, and then they won't really be touching the floor anymore, but then they're going to be like really high up and you're not going to be in a GT position anymore. And so basically after countless hours of trying to get those pedals adjusted, taking it apart, putting it back together, tweaking it, sitting in it, taking it apart, putting it back together, tweaking it, sitting in it, rinse, repeat, I basically came to the conclusion that there is no way to mount pedals to this cockpit and have a GT seating position with the rig out of the box. And they don't mention that on the RigMetal website. And so that's really kind of frustrating, because if you want a formula style cockpit, you buy a formula style cockpit specifically. My assumption, and shame on me for assuming things, but my assumption is all of the other cockpits for the most part are going to be GT style. But that's not the case with this rig, not out of the box. And so unfortunately, that is where this rig falls short. And I even took to the Facebook group to ask Marcus, the owner of the business, like, hey, what kind of solutions would you recommend in this case? Because I really don't like the formula seating position. And his response was basically, well, you should basically look at buying, well, he didn't actually really even respond to me. Like, he didn't answer my question. He just put a reply to my post and he said, FYI, for anybody who experiences this themselves in the future, you should buy the flagship rig because it'll give you the ability to have a lot more height adjustability with your seats and pedals and get more into a GT position. So, I didn't buy that one. I bought the Plus. And so what's the recommended solution here? And unfortunately, that recommended solution is to spend quite a bit more money to buy peripherals from Track Racer, which is what I did. Buy those peripherals from Track Racer to get this kit lifted off the floor, to raise the seat up, and then I can flip the pedal plate around to the intended position and get a lot more adjustability out of the pedal position. So I'm gonna go on ahead and show you some of those peripherals that I bought, but that is basically why I don't recommend this rig. Because in order to get it into a GT style, a proper GT style position, you're gonna have to spend another $150 some odd anyways. And at that point, you might as well get one of the Track Racer kits that comes with all of these nice things out of the box. It's more solid, it's a wider known company, may not be like supporting local, supporting small business, but you know, you're gonna pay about the same price for it in the end, and you're just gonna get a lot more support and flexibility at the end of the day for how you can adjust your setup. So it depends on what's important to you, but let's go on ahead and take a look at some of those new Track Racer peripherals that I haven't even unboxed yet. All right, so looking at the peripherals from Track Racer, these are going to basically be seat mounting hardware. So that's going to basically let us raise the seat up by a few inches. And then over there we have the foot plates, which they're kind of like the rolling casters, but they are just solid mounted foot plates. These are going to allow us to raise the rig up a couple inches. Once the rig is off the floor, we'll be able to adjust the pedals more because they're not going to be sitting on the floor, right? So the pedals, basically, I can't adjust them now because they're completely on the floor. But once we have the rig lifted off of the floor, we'll be able to adjust the pedals. And then also, once we have the seat mounted on these brackets, it's going to raise the seat up a couple inches, and we'll have a lot more adjustability with the seat. So all in, you know, we ended up spending a bit more money when we went out to Track Racer to get the additional peripherals. And the reason why, again, I can't recommend the RigMetal Plus cockpit is because when it's all said and done, you really either could have bought the flagship cockpit and gotten a lot of that adjustability right out of the box, or, you know, to be honest, if I could do it all over again, I would probably go with the Track Racer, because the Track Racer comes with all of that adjustment as well. But it also has the side mounted setup for your wheel. So instead of the wheel sitting on top of the mounting plate, there are side mounting plates grabbing the wheel from each side. So, that's just a preference thing. And you'll probably all in, if you were to buy the RigMetal flagship versus its equivalent from Track Racer, you'll probably spend maybe around $100 more for the kit from Track Racer. And so, it just depends on what's important to you. The RigMetal Plus is, an inexpensive entryway into 80/20 that is a robust enough kit where I definitely wouldn't recommend the basic. And it's robust enough so you can upgrade it. So if you don't have all that money out of the gate to spend on the flagship or to buy the Track Racer, then you can buy this and then build on it like I did. But if you know what I know and you do have that, those additional funds, it's not going to hurt you to spend that extra $250 or so out of the box. I would just go on ahead and take the dive, go with either the flagship from RigMetal or one of the more premium options or offerings from Track Racer. So there we have it, guys. I do hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this in the future. Thank you so much for stopping by and have a great rest of your day.